Hello, everybody. We got a little fancy tonight. I am live with the DCI Blue Stars drum majors, Mattie Kleespies, sorry, and Joely Martin. Let me mute this music, which I thought I had muted, but okay. Anyway, thank you, ladies, for joining me tonight. I'm glad y'all could hop on here.
Of course. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Now I gotta ask, have y'all known each other for a really long time, or did y'all become friends when y'all were with Blue Stars, or how did that happen? Because y'all are besties or something is what it seems like.
Well, you're absolutely right. We've definitely been best friends over the past couple of seasons. We met during the audition season going into Joely's first season back in 2023, but we didn't know each other before then.
Yeah. But we clicked pretty well right away. And I mean, it feels like we've known each other for much longer than we actually have. Yeah.
I think when you're on the road with somebody for a really long time, like you get really, really close, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
Lydia Pleatinks from Atlanta CV has a question for y'all. I always let somebody leave the first question from the previous week, and she wants to know what your ideal sleeping arrangement is as soon as you get on the bus when you're just tired after a long day.
I can kick us off.
Yes,
I'll
please
set
do.
the scene for you. I'll talk about my age out seat. I was at the very front of the bus, had my little tray table in front of me because the front of the seats do. Some people have a really strong preference between like the aisle seat versus the window seat. Personally, I was a window seat person, and a funny thing about my seat, one of my little life hacks for drum corps that I recommend is a lot of people will get like shower caddies and little suction cup hooks. I would hang a shopping bag, like a fabric shopping bag, on my window with one of those hooks. I'd shove a hoodie in there and I'd use it as my pillow against the window. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a really comfortable setup for me. And my seat partner would always just like knock out next to me.
That's a hack I've not heard of. That's a good
Yeah.
hack.
It's
I
awesome.
actually I actually ended up doing the same thing last season with my seat partner, and we had like hanging bags put up on our windows. And then we also had a bunch of other decorations. Like we had like disco balls and like stuffed animals. Like we had so much stuff, but we were always comfortable, and that's what mattered. Um, but yeah, we would just curl up like this, all on top of each other, and we were always in the sweet spot right in the middle of the bus because we were always on perk bus, and percussion was always in the front, and then we had a lot of brass members in the back, but right in the middle. And especially like in the 2024 season, all of team time, our conducting team as we call it, would sit next to each other, and so we'd always like talk for a while, like hang out, laugh, and then we'd be able to like end the night together and then just curl up and have a little team time sleepover. It was
You
so
know,
sweet.
I've seen my son. I don't know how he does it. Not, my youngest son, like he and two other guys, like they're all laying next to each other on the bench, and I don't even know how they do it. And they are just all cuddled up in there. I'm like, y'all are goofballs, but
Yeah,
it's
the
fun.
people who take the aisle and sprawl all the way out in the aisle are so impressive to me, but it's also so gross. I don't like it.
Amen. Yeah,
I
it's
hate
so gross.
it.
Now I know y'all both have very different audition stories. I'd love to hear what they were and how y'all got into drum corps. Jilly, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I absolutely can. So like Maddie mentioned, we got to know each other during the audition process for the 2023 season. And so that was in the fall or winter of 2022, which is when I submitted my video audition. And then actually from that process, I was cut, but I had grown really close with Maddie and she had a lot of confidence in me. And thank goodness she did, because she encouraged me to come to January camp, which is open for people who want to continue their audition experience. And I went to that and I showed up more determined than ever, to kind of prove myself. And I did everything I could to apply all the feedback I had gotten from my video audition. And I did very, very well. Not to toot my own horn, but I mean, it ended up going very, very well for me. However, I was cut from that process as well. Um, it wasn't until a few months later that I was offered the spot of rehearsal assistant, and I gladly accepted because I just wanted to be in the Blue Stars. I wanted to be, I mean, with Maddie, selfishly, like she's incredible. Um, and then just a week after I accepted the position of rehearsal assistant, um, I was offered the position of conductor because someone was unfortunately unable to march for the 2023 season on team time. And so I was moved up into their position. So
Wow.
it took
Wow.
quite a while, but it was so well worth it. And that taught me a lot about my own persistence and like
Sure.
how willing I was to do something that I was so passionate about.
Right.
And I think back on that a lot whenever I'm having a lot of moments of doubt about a passion project or whatever I'm working on in the moment. And I'm like, you have that drive, you have that determination. And it was very telling. And here I am now, 4 years later.
Yeah. I can't imagine how much patience you needed to just, stick
Yes.
with it. And bless your heart. Honestly, that's a lot to go through. And
Yes.
just I mean, I'm sure you felt defeated at times, and it just,
Yeah,
man. Maddie, how
absolutely.
did you get into drum corps?
My audition story was also a bit unusual. Um, I didn't decide I wanted to march drum corps until very late into a regular like audition season. I was a woodwind player back in the day, and I never really saw myself being part of this activity in any way. And it wasn't until like after my marching season wrapped up in my senior year of marching band, I was like, man, I really love the competitive marching arts. I think I kind of want to continue this career. And so it was towards the end of November at this point, and the only corps that was still accepting auditions at this point was the Blue Stars. I knew nothing about any of the groups. I really didn't have any sort of idea where I wanted to be, but I was left with my one option.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent in my video and I got a call back. But my rookie season was in 2022. We were still in the tail end of the COVID-19 pandemic. And that weekend that the callback camp was supposed to happen, there was a very large spike that limited the travel. And so that audition camp ended up moving to a virtual format. And though I got to go through the whole process and everything, I got to have my conducting audition, my interview, all those sorts of things, I never got to actually experience an in-person drum corps camp the way that many other people get to.
Mm-hmm.
But I was offered the contract anyways. And so it ended up just being this large leap of faith of me not knowing anything. The first thing really about this activity, but deciding that I wanted to be part of it. I was also like very inspired by a dear friend of mine named Carter Doby, who was a Madison Scouts drum major for a couple of years. And he was also a big motivator in the process. He got his contract before me and gave me that extra nudge of like, hey, you should really consider this. You should go for it and take that contract. So that's my story.
Yeah, I have a question on Instagram. Someone was asking, now, did y'all both age out yet? Maddie, I know you have. Joely, are you marching again, or did you age out?
This upcoming summer is my age out season.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Now I know y'all have different backgrounds and current hobbies and things, but if you were to put in a nutshell the differences between being a drum major in high school and college and drum corps, what would those differentiators be between those three things?
I can talk a little bit on my experience, particularly with being a college drum major. I'm the head drum major here at Western Carolina University. And that in its own, if you know anything about the Pride of the Mountains marching band, we're like one of the largest marching bands in the Southeast, if not the largest. Um, we always have around 450 members each season. And I think at our largest in 2019, we were right at 535. Um,
Wow.
so that alone can be very daunting.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think the perception of drum corps and how daunting that can be in and of itself, because it's such a large scale, production and experience, kind of eased my nerves going into the college marching season once I came back for my first summer of drum corps. And so the sheer like amount of people in my program here has never been that scary to me because I've already done the thing
Yeah.
on a very large scale, and it felt a lot more stressful. But I mean, drum corps, like at the end of the day, it's just drum corps. um, so that is very different. It's a lot more people. It's not as scary. It's a little bit low stress in
Mhm.
comparison to drum corps, but we still do a core style show here where we only have one show all season.
Oh,
So
nice.
I still have a very similar vibe
Yeah.
to the drum corps experience. And at my college in particular, we have a lot of members of our leadership team and just the band in general who march drum corps. So
Okay.
there's always people around who I can relate to, which helps
Yeah.
a lot with like the size, and also just how scary the marching arts can be sometimes.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a big difference. Serving 400 plus people rather than 165 people. And here I'm on a leadership team of over 100 people.
Wow.
Um, we don't have band parents. We don't really have a large admin team or volunteers. um, we all do the work of, we have an operations team, we have a uniform team, we have an
Right.
archives team, and we're all students. So
Right.
balancing those two things can be quite difficult, but the time constraint is so much lesser.
Yeah.
um, and the actual stress is much more alleviated, which helps a lot when I come back, the day after finals, and I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, band camp, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Easy now. Just rehearse a couple days
Easy.
a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of the high school graduates, and I know that, some of them are just so burned out they don't want to march in college because they're like, I can't keep doing this. And I
Right.
don't think they all realize that, not saying it's just, a time to, joke around and not do anything, but like it is a step back and far as, the rigor
Hmm.
and stuff that's like,
Totally.
yeah. Maddie, anything to
Yeah.
add?
Yeah, I can speak on more the end of like bridging between high school drum major and DCI drum major. The very biggest difference, and this goes for just the jump from going to DCI in general, is that you don't get to decompress the way that you don't
Hmm.
get to walk off the field and go home. You don't get to go and have a relaxing weekend. When issues arise, your time to think and act about how to resolve those problems are much more limited as well, especially like in the leadership aspect. You live together 24/7. Problems
Hmm.
have to be solved sooner rather than later, really.
Right.
We talk about this concept of drum corps being a pressure cooker, where suddenly
Hmm.
like things that would impact you on a scale of like freaking you out from a 1 to 10, if something was like a 2, it suddenly becomes a 7, and if it was a 7 in your normal life, it would become a 15, and
Oh
things can
no.
really blow over, and it's your
Yeah.
responsibility to keep a really level head as a drum major.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
emotional awareness and empathy are really key aspects of the job as well.
Hmm.
Do you feel
And
like
that
you're the peacemaker as the drum major when all that is happening? Like, are you having to play a part in like just getting people to settle down? Or
100%. Absolutely. There are so many different hats that a DCI drum major wears, and this is something that Team Time has discussed quite a bit too, all the different roles and
Hmm.
responsibilities that we just happen to pick up over the course of the
yeah,
tour. And Peacemakers,
therapist,
one of
parent.
uh-huh.
Yes. We had at some point we had like a running list of all the jobs that we actually do that aren't like just conducting.
We
Like
actually had
door
this
What
holder,
are some of those jobs?
janitorial staff. Like
Okay.
we were mopping a lot. It rained a lot on tour the past 2 summers.
there got to be a point where we actually took all of the skills that we accumulated over the course of the team and
Yes.
made a pretend resume as a joke, like,
Yes.
oh, maybe when like a new staff member comes on, like that'd be a funny way to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
here's
Yeah.
You
our
need to
resume,
like
meet us.
throw it all into ChatGPT and just see what it says that you're qualified to do.
There was a lot of like more technical things too between the metronome and stuff like that. Programming, key
Yes.
experts. We had a
Technical
lot of fun with it.
troubleshooting. Yes.
Quick
Yeah.
shout out to Ella. She says her brother is marching Blue Stars this year. So hi Ella. Tell him we said
Yay.
Yes,
hi.
Oh my
FCO.
goodness. FCO.
Now, what's the difference between a stage? Y'all said something about stage managing and drum major. What's the difference between those two
Oh
things?
yes. I think this one was meant for me. I should have introduced with that. So right now I study technical theater at Western Carolina University. I'm a junior right now. Um, and a lot of my track, at least like the concentration that I'm focusing in, is stage management and also costume design. So I actually just wrapped up this past weekend our main stage musical for this season. I was an assistant stage manager on it. And a lot of that job is what Maddie was just talking about, with wearing a lot of different hats, kind of putting out small fires here and there, and also being very proactive in that position, and anticipating the needs of the entire cast and crew and production team and director and production manager. There's always
Wow.
so many moving parts, and it's important to be that person or a person on a team of people that can anticipate those needs and then also, um, kind of troubleshoot where needed.
Right.
And that's like the biggest similarity between the two. But then also in a broader scale, it's the performing arts. This has been my life for as long as I can remember. In high school, I was always doing stage management and also band at the same time.
Hmm.
So it just comes naturally to me. But now I'm doing it for my career. And so there's that added level of like, what are my personal values and how do I bring them into this career field? And then how can I use that in the drum corps scope? And that's been super interesting to explore over the past few years because they are so very similar.
Yeah. You got to be so organized and just the
Yes,
calm when everything's going wrong and find
absolutely.
ways to fix everything. Now,
Absolutely.
you say you're going into that. Like, what are you wanting to do after you graduate college? Like, what's your dream job?
I think arts administration as a whole has always been super fascinating to me, but production management, stage management, like I mentioned, costume design is something that I kind of just entered kind of not unnaturally, but kind of unnaturally. I started working on our costume shop here at school just as a way to make money, but I found like a knack for it. And so now I've taken on more design roles and I've truly loved that experience. So finding a way to incorporate that into my career would be incredible as well. But
Yeah.
primarily, more administrative jobs would be
Okay.
awesome.
Okay. How did your experience in drum corps like impact your, desire or interest in arts administration? Like, how did that bridge kind of happen, and what are the crossovers?
A lot of what we do on team time, when we're not, tending to the core's needs, or running met for rehearsal or conducting like actively, is seeing what we can do to help out our administration team.
Mhm.
um, and a lot of that just looks like a lot of little tasks that we all
Yeah.
get to do together. Like I mean, at camp, even just a few months ago, we were taking people's measurements for uniform fittings, or we're unloading a bunch of equipment, we're building marimbas, we're like
Mhm.
unloading drums, all these sorts of things. And I think just seeing all the work that it takes behind the scenes to put on a production at the
Yeah.
skill that we do in the performing arts is just super fascinating to me. And I love being a pillar of support, or at least a part of a pillar of support for an entire ensemble.
Yeah. Like a professional band parent, just full time all the time.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. And I think Mattie would have a lot to say on that too, because the drum major specifically works so closely with bridging that gap between our admin and the members of the drum corps.
Yeah, Maddie, what's the most important part of doing that? What is all the behind the scenes stuff that we're not seeing that y'all are, having to just make sure works out right?
Oh gosh, where to begin? I mean, what Jolie was talking about with just bridging between members and staff, you do a lot of work as just a devil's advocate. I don't know if that's necessarily like the right term, but you do have to consider the perspectives of members versus staff and everything. If there's something that the staff is trying to push, you have to be able to help them push to the membership and vice versa. So a
Mhm.
lot of that communication is definitely bridged by the drum major. But also sometimes it's just a matter of like a drum major might receive, these are some things that needs to get done. You need to find the people and the resources to do it. Again, the
Yeah.
hand, many hands make light work, as we like to say at the Blue Stars. Um,
Totally.
on a more personal level, a drum major can be a lot of like administrative tasks can sometimes fall to the drum major because it makes the most sense for them to do so because they're going to be the resource that people go to first to ask those questions. So, in my experience, at least, one of the biggest things that I always did, I consistently got up pretty early before the corps did just to make sure that the housing site was ready for us. So I'd go
Mhm.
out, I'd make sure that the field was open, I'd make sure the bathrooms were open, I'd make sure that all the fields and rehearsal spaces were going to be accessible for whatever group was going to be using them that day. And that's something that
Hmm.
people don't always consider because it just kind of happens magically behind the scenes of like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I walk out, it's all ready for me to go, but
I
you don't
just
necessarily see
assumed
like, oh,
someone
there's a
else
drum
did
major
that.
that's calling the housing site coordinator to say like, hey, this is locked right now, can you open it before this time? That sort of
Right.
thing.
Okay.
It just happens, and some people just don't always notice. It's really
Yeah,
awesome.
those are big responsibilities. So I
Hmm.
I would say that's heftier than what I assumed y'all were doing.
Yeah.
We've got a question on Instagram. Do people get dehydrated a lot, and what do they do when they do?
Um, dehydrated, it's, dehydration can be a choice. It's
Yeah.
whether you
Poor
choose to fill
planning.
up your jug before rehearsal and whether you choose to drink that
Yeah.
water is up to you, but you're going to get a lot of pressure from other people to be consistent with it. One thing that Team Time always did to make sure that people were hydrated is if there was ever like a downtime during rehearsal where, say, they were doing like visual work and they didn't necessarily need the entire team running metronome or the entire team conducting, we would go around the fields and make sure people's jugs were full. We'd run them off the field, go fill them up, and that was something that we just kind of did as a kind thing towards the rest of the corps, helping them out.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to start hydrating. I mean, we tell the high schoolers start hydrating like before band camp even starts, just so they're, have fluid in them, and then go outside. Just be in the heat, get acclimated a little bit.
Absolutely.
Chugging water 5 minutes before you need it isn't the answer. You have to do it 24 hours before. You
Yeah.
have to constantly about it. It's something like we always struggle with, especially during rest and recovery days, where people don't hydrate enough during that time, like they normally would during a rehearsal block, and then they struggle the next day because they haven't hydrated properly. There's a lot of reminders.
Is it true that a lot of corps discourage drinking caffeine as well because of it, not helping in that sense with the hydration? Or I don't know. I've heard that. I wasn't sure if that was a thing or not, but
I would say they definitely encourage it to be more limited. Like, you don't want to be chugging soda, but like at the Blue Stars, the past couple summers, we've been having there's these things called like Gatorade Twitch that do have like a more natural type of caffeine, I think, in them. So stuff like that is welcome. There's also like coffee at the food truck if people need a little bit of a boost, but you don't want to be chugging energy drinks and sodas because that's going to trash your body. Something more healthy, something more filling is going to be much better down the road.
Speaking of healthy and filling, what are y'all's favorite foods to eat from the food truck when y'all are on tour?
I'll let Joely go first.
I know what Maddie's going to say.
Okay.
The first thing that came to mind for me, which may be a little weird because we do stuff over the summer, is what is the soup called? It's a soup, like, which is so strange because it's over the summer. Like, why would you want soup? But I tell you, our cook truck makes a mean soup. I think it's like a burger
Hamburger
soup.
soup.
Yeah,
Turkey
hamburger
soup.
soup.
One of those two.
Hamburger soup. And I just love it. The consistency of it is great. It's so flavorful. But we also have a lot
Probably
of
has all the leftovers from the night before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, honestly, that's another good point. Like we have days where we just have all of our leftovers and those are called our must goes. And so like a must go day is like the best day ever because it's all of the food you've had over the past like week or so. And you
We
gotta
have
make
those
sure
in
you
my
get in line
house.
first. Yeah, literally. You gotta make sure you get in line first though. Otherwise all your favorite things will be gone.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I really like the hamburger soup. I always enjoy that whenever we have it at camp because we mostly only have it at January camp when it's the coldest. But I also really love our snack meals. We always have really, really good snacks. I personally really enjoy a good old corn dog. But we also do pretzels and we have the option of like a salty pretzel or a cinnamon pretzel, which is really cool. So, don't sleep on the snacks.
Yeah. I was going to say, is that like girl dinner? I didn't know what snack dinner was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Maddie, what's your go-to?
I love chicken pesto pasta. It's hands down my favorite. And like, I'm going to be a little bit like almost TMI with it, but chicken pesto pasta is the one meal that I could have as a drum major that would not make me get off the podium the next block to go like run to the bathroom. So like if we had it before ensemble where I knew like I was going to be on the podium for the duration of rehearsal and I couldn't really get off to go take a break, I could eat as much of it as I wanted. Awesome. It's my favorite. Also like something that people don't always consider, all the meals that we have in drum corps are very like calorie dense, very carb dense because that's what you need to fuel your rehearsals. But team time, like we're not the most physical members of the drum corps. Like it's more of a mental job than anything. And so a lot of the meals that we get can almost like upset our stomachs and those sorts of things. We don't need that much food. We sometimes have to ask for like smaller portions that are more adequate for the type of work that we're doing. So
yeah, this is true.
That makes me think, I know y'all have to stand there for a long time, but I've always wanted to just see some drum majors do like a before and after of their arms on the season, like measure them and the tan and like just a before and after. Like Julie, if you want to do that this year, just go ahead.
Oh yeah. Oh, I will do that. I know me and Maddie have some really good tan line photos from last season, which we can send you after this.
Oh
But
yeah.
that's always a very fun thing to do. Like we have like checkpoints throughout the season. Like obviously you have photos on day one where you're so pale, but then like the day before we leave for Texas, we would take a photo of like our sock tan lines,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
it was always gnarly. It's so
Yeah.
How
cool.
long does it take a sock tan line to go away? Like,
I,
Oh, it
I've
never goes.
never I've never not had one.
it lasts till the next season and then you just refresh it a little bit.
And I'll add on to
Exactly.
it. A lot of people wear like Crocs or Chacos or Tevas for their like non-drum corps shoes. So
Hmm.
people often have like a double down of the tan line. Like I always
Yeah.
had the sock tan line and a Chacos tan line with the Z straps.
Hmm.
Those are pretty funny too.
And
Nick, you,
something that people don't talk about often is the horn line have a glove tan line from wearing them all
oh,
block every single day. So like their hands are so pale by the end of the season, but the rest of them is all tan
I never
because they're
thought
always
about
covered
that.
up. Yeah,
Oh,
nobody
I,
thinks
Yeah.
about these things.
Now my
a funny
son's
story.
legs looked filthy. Like it was a sock tan line, but it just
Yeah.
made his leg look so filthy, and it wasn't. But
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like I don't know.
One thing I'll add on to is like a lot of people like to wear their hats during rehearsal to block the sun. And so
Yeah.
one thing that I really love to do is whenever the corps was in like more of a standstill, like if the horn line was in an arc or battery was with the drums on their stands, I would go up to them. I'd be like, "All right, everybody, hats off. You're getting a forehead check right now." And I'd point at
Yeah.
the people who needed to not wear their their
Oh
hats
no,
the next
Yeah.
rehearsal.
just even it out a little bit.
The line across their.
Now, y'all were talking about taking pictures at different points throughout the season. What did y'all
Yeah.
do to kind of document everything that happened so you don't forget things and just for your future reference? Are y'all able to journal or like what do y'all like to do?
I'll let Maddie start with this one.
Okay, so I did two things. The main one that I kept up with more or less consistently was my Instagram account. This is like a self plug for both of us. I had a drum corps account where I documented every single day of my tour and photos and videos and all those sorts of things. You can track it. My at is mk.drumcorps and Joely's is the same format, jm.drumcorps.
Mhm.
Um, I really love doing it because I look back at it now and I can scroll through and see all these memories specific to the day that I marched. And also, like, as I was marching, it was a way for me to connect with the people that were not with the corps at the time. So if my family wanted to keep
Mhm.
up with what I was doing, if they wanted that proof of life, they could just look at that account and understand that I was alive and okay and having a fantastic time.
Proof
Um,
of life is so important as a mom. Like when my son was marching, I usually just had to look and wait for photos to be posted from the corps or somebody and just look for a piece of his body and to know he was alive. So yes, proof of life is a thing. So
Yes.
Very,
Yeah.
very important. And the second thing that a lot of people do is they'll actually bring a physical tour journal with them. I only kept up with mine one summer. It was in 2024. It was really important to me to keep track of that summer because it was the anniversary season
mhm.
for the drum corps, so Blue Star's 60th anniversary. And there was just going to be so many special moments between alumni corps and altogether that production that we had going.
Yeah.
Such a
Yeah.
special memory. But doing both was really difficult, I will say, but definitely do one or the other. Have something that you can look back on, even if it's just putting things in your notes in your phone of
Mhm.
what you're feeling that day, or even saving photos and videos just to your Snapchat memories so you can look back on them later. You would be
Mhm.
surprised how many little glimmers and memories you'd miss out on if you moved on, because drum corps
Yeah.
goes by really fast and it's a lot of
Yeah.
time spent together. It's easy to let those little things slip of the funny memories.
Totally.
Yeah, I keep a journal that's just a one line a day journal, and it's a little book, and it's for 3 years, and it's one line a day, and I have a hard enough time keeping up with that. So I just can't even
Yeah.
imagine trying to.
Yes,
I
having that
know.
Like,
structure is so important. Both of us, when we journaled, Jolie also did journal one summer.
Mhm.
We had to give ourselves like a very specific routine of the type of things that we were filling in. So my journal, for example, I would always
Mhm.
start out with the date, the location, the housing site we were at, the song that I woke up the corps with that morning, and then I would
Mhm.
have my reflections below it. And Jolie can share a little bit about what she did for her journal.
Yeah, I did basically the same thing. And before the season even started, I filled out an entire journal with the format that I wanted to follow every single day of tour.
mhm.
So it would start with like day of tour, so like day zero, move-in day, day one, and then the actual date, what the weather was like that day, the location, And then I moved into like my goal for the day, what I was grateful for, what I was looking forward to, which is a part of our morning system that we do at Blue Stars, particularly within team time, which Maddie can touch on a little bit more later. Um, and then I would, on the next page, have, like, how was my day? And I had like 5 different little emotions that I could pick between to circle for that day.
That's
And
easy. You don't have
I
to write
know.
anything. How I feel.
Exactly. I was like, yeah, it was not that great. And I would circle the one in the middle. It was like, meh. Um, and then it was like the next portion was like a tell all portion. And it was just like a place for me to like kind of word vomit all of my thoughts on just that one page. And then the next page I would flip over and it was the exact same format. And so it made
Yeah.
it super, super easy. So I set it up for myself. So that way I just didn't even have to think
Nice.
about it. Because at the end of the day, I just want to decompress. And that was the way to do
Yeah.
it. Where I didn't have to think about, oh God, I got to think about what are the different things in the morning system? What are the different things in the evening system? Like it's
Yeah.
already there for me. It tells me what I need to fill in.
Yeah.
And
That
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 really helped.
that brings me to my next question. Y'all had mentioned a morning evening system and kind of how drum
Hmm.
major teams work together. Tell me about that and what that's like and just what makes a good flow from day to day.
Yeah, so morning and evening system is one of the methods we used as a team just to bond. One thing that can be surprising when you get onto a drum major team is like, you work together like this, but a lot of the day you're like this. You spend a lot of time
Hmm.
separate, you're at different points in the field, very distant from each other. And even though we try to
Hmm.
use a buddy system where if somebody's doing one thing, they have at least a friend with them, it can be good to recoup in the morning and evening just to make sure that we have that time together as a group. And so, morning and
Hmm.
evening system are each a set of 3 questions that we would just go around in a circle and answer every day in the morning and evening. Morning
Hmm.
system, the 3 questions were, what's your goal for the day? What are you grateful for? And what are you looking forward to most? And then evening
Hmm.
system was, what was your spark of joy for the day? AKA like something that made you really happy, something that made you laugh. What was your struggle for the day? Something that might have been a hardship or a challenge for you. And then how did you level up? What did you get better at today? And so it was a really good opportunity for the team just to share our thoughts and reflect with each other, and kind of give each other checkpoints of like how we're feeling, be more vulnerable with one another. It was
Yeah.
really powerful, and like sometimes it was easy to lose track of as we got further into tour. But if there was ever
Hmm.
a time where we felt disconnected, we could just come to each other and say, "Hey, let's do morning system. Let's do evening system. Let's catch up."
I never thought about, the drum majors being disconnected, but you're right. Y'all are always spread out and in different places, so that makes complete sense.
Hmm.
Um, you said whatever made you laugh for the day. Like, what was something funny or some of your funniest moments when y'all were on tour?
Joely can start this one.
So last season, we had the unfortunate experience on percussion bus, as I mentioned earlier, of having a bus breakdown on the way to one of our competitions in Pennsylvania. So like we're on the last leg of tour. We're we're up the coast already. We're basically on finals week and our bus breaks down. So that was immediately hilarious in its own. But then we got a police escort to the nearest police station where we had to wait for one of our other bus drivers to come over with the brass bus to pick us up. And that was our fearless brass bus driver, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for all your service.
Thank you,
Shout
Mike.
out, Mike.
Truly a lifesaver that day. Very incredible. But during that time, like it is, like I mentioned, the entire bus is all percussionist, and then most of team time, and then
I can only imagine.
a lot of our brass members, and everybody was like almost show ready. We were all in like our compression gear, getting our hair done and our makeup done for the show, and everybody had their horns in their laps. And so while we waited, we of course played some show chunks,
Of
played our
course you did.
core song, and the instrumentation was terrible because
Mind you, they played it
yeah.
for the police officers.
I was going to say, did you at least have an audience of
Yeah,
policemen? Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
we each took turns going in the police car. Like it was we truly have I'll send you some photos from that experience.
Great.
But that was the funniest moment on tour for sure.
I'm sure the police officers thought that was funny too because they're
They
like, "I'll
did.
never
They
guess
thought it
what
was
happened."
hilarious. Yes. It was
That's so
awesome.
funny.
Yes. Hopefully the first and last time the Blue Stars will ever have a run-in with the police.
Yeah. Having having been on a bus breakdown before with a full of marchers, that is not fun. And it was at night on the side of the road. And yeah, well,
Oh,
someone dropped something in the grass and they were trying to find it. I was like, no, today is not the day. We're not finding whatever it was. We're leaving.
yeah.
Maddie, any other ones from your last 4 years with Blue Stars?
So
Is it 4 years that you've been with them?
Yeah, I marched
Okay.
from 2022 through 2025. I suppose I could throw that as like more of an introduction. I was a field conductor in my first season, and then I got to be a drum major from 2023 through 2025, which was my age out.
Yeah.
Funny stories. So, very generally speaking, the Blue Stars have a particular affinity for water blasters and Nerf guns.
Okay.
Every brass member has at least one in their arsenal, if you will. And there was a specific day in spring training. We had a free block one evening, and at this point, nobody has gotten their artillery. So everybody runs off to the convenience stores and gets water guns, and they start just having an absolute blast. And all over the campus, they were just having a total time. And my funny memory from it was that during free blocks, I always just preferred to like take naps and rest and recover.
I don't blame you. I love naps.
This was a really good example of like when you're a drum major, you are never off the clock. You're always responsible in some way or another. And so I remember like I was laying in my bed and I get a phone call from one of the brass section leaders, and he's like, Mattie, it's just getting a little out of hand. I think we might need to tell people to like calm it down a little bit. And I'm like, all right,
no.
I'll come downstairs. I'll see what's up. So I'm getting out of bed, and probably a minute later, I get another phone call from our horn sergeant, and she goes, Mattie, people are bringing it inside. We need to get people out. They're like getting the door messy.
Oh no.
And I'm like, oh shoot. So I'm speeding up. I walk down the stairs, and I'm about to go and ask everybody to get outside. And I get a third phone call. And this year, the horn line and color guard were in one dorm building, and the percussion was in another. And so I get a phone call from our center snare that year, and he's like, Mattie, somebody ran out of fire exit. Now the fire alarm's going off. We need to do something.
This is about when a parent is like, no more water guns, are all gone. Like, none for anybody.
It was such chaos, but it was so much fun, and there are so many silly videos of it. I will say this memory was really well captured. This is a plug for our media manager, Jack Mentalio. He curated such a wonderful documentary of that summer. It's called The Summer of My Life. You can stream it on YouTube and Stride TV, but there's a segment in there where it features like the water gun fights and how much fun the Corps was having at that point in the season. Definitely wonderful.
Yeah, I think I watched that one, but I feel like I missed the water gun parts. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again.
It's really wonderful. It's probably like halfway through spring training, and so many jokes. The Corps, you can really tell, is bonded by then. It's really sweet.
Yeah.
We're running tight on time, but I want to ask y'all, what was your favorite Blue Stars show that you were a part of? Which one was your favorite?
The 2024 season really has a special place in my heart. I think that show and everything it encapsulates about, just like not only our place in the universe, but our place within each other's universes, to get a little deep is really beautiful. And I think the connections you make on tours, like it's truly so, so special. And that culture within the culture. I mean, even right now, like as we're talking about these different memories, like you will never experience that sort of thing ever again because it was with that specific group of people, and that show, and also just all of the morale behind it because it was our 60th anniversary was super, super special for me.
Yeah Maddie,
I'll have to
which one
double
was your
down.
favorite?
I also say 2024. You don't realize how far and wide this activity affects people and where it takes people in their lives, and having that connection with the alumni corps and seeing how Blue Stars impacted them was truly so special. And I'm excited to be on the other side of that now and see what it takes me.
I will say my favorite one was 23 because that was the year I had a kid that was a Blue Star, so that was fun for me. But and that's why this account even happened, and it was totally accident because I just posted a video of someone coming down the spoon and landing in. I had to post someone else later, but that one is no longer online because I am protecting his identity as he is a band director. So no ammunition for the kids. I am going to ask y'all one more question because I have a surprise guest next week. Dan Potter's coming on. So,
Woo!
do y'all have any questions for Dan? Because y'all get first pick of that.
So we thought long and hard about this. If you don't know, Dan Potter was actually a DCI drum major once, and we want to know what was a responsibility that drum majors had back in the day that would surprise drum majors now.
Yep.
Nice. I will ask him. We will see if he answers. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's super exciting. That'll be
I'm going to
great.
see if there's any more comments in the chat. I don't think there were. Oh, someone said something about a prop imploding on itself in the middle of a run. Did that happen in 23?
It did. It was actually towards like the beginning of the show, I want to say. I
Very
remember
beginning
just, yeah, it was the very beginning of our run in Winston-Salem, North Carolina at Night Beat. One of our cubes, the welding came apart, I believe. It was being pushed too hard a certain way that it shouldn't have been. Unfortunately, that was a common issue that summer. But yes, that did happen right at the top of the show
Oh no.
at Night Beat. And I remember it so well because, I mean, how could you forget that sort of thing? But also,
Yeah.
I didn't even see it happen, and I didn't know it was happening until after the show because I was just so locked in on watching Maddie's hands.
Yeah.
It was
You were
so
doing
silly.
your job. You had a
I
job
was
to
doing
do.
my
You were trying.
job. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's those prop malfunctions that you can't ever forget about.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
Tarek, he's online. Want to say hey to Tarek.
Hi,
Hey,
Tarek.
Tarek.
Well, I want to thank y'all again for coming on tonight and chatting. I feel like we could chat a lot longer, but we're running out of time. And y'all come back next week, and we'll have Dan Potter
Yes.
on, and y'all can drop some questions in the chat for him. And
Absolutely.
I will see Joely. I'll see you on the road this summer. Maddie, what are you going to be doing this summer?
So I live in Madison, Wisconsin now. I'm within driving distance of the Corps, at least for the first part of tour. So hopefully I'll get to volunteer. But I do work full time, so it's a little limited.
I did forget to ask that. What do you do these days?
Yeah, so I graduated college before I marched my age out, and I was really fortunate to have a job secured before I left. I work at a company called Epic Systems. We create software that handles a lot of the electronic health records for health systems, clinics, hospitals, as well as health plans. And so I'm a quality manager. My day to day, I test software and make sure that it works functionally for all the people that use it.
Okay. I know that's a weird place to end, but I didn't want to not ask you that. So that's cool. All right, ladies, y'all have a great evening. And when I see y'all have to send me the weird tan line pictures. I need to see that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Will do.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
See you
you
later.
so much for having
Bye.
us.
Thank you.